Little Rock, Street Fanatic, Brad Cat, Alex Cameron walking off out, Richie with their special guest, Vince Quinn. It's been a heck of a night in Philadelphia, to say the least. For the first time, and I don't even know how long, in 3 years, I think, the Philadelphia 76ers are advancing to the second round of the Eastern Final of the NBA playoffs. So the number one seed, they looked absolutely incredible without Joel Embiid tonight. First of all, Vince, thanks for joining us.
Well, yeah, guys, I'm glad we can make this work. It's fun to come on after a nice, because you worried a little bit going into the game. It was nice to get the win and just know that the series is over. So, yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, Eric, Alex, you want to start us off with some questions?
Sure. So, what were your thoughts on Joel Embiid the day after he got injured?
Well, yeah. I mean, I thought about, because they put out that line where they said it was a small meniscus tear. And do you guys remember Brian Colangelo when that happened a couple of years ago? He tore the meniscus at a Rockets game, and then he was out for a couple of days, and they thought he might come back. And I remember Brian Colangelo saying "small meniscal tear." Like it just kept replaying in my head. And I thought that Embiid was he's not coming back. And sure enough, he is. So, I mean, the fact that it seems like he's on a good track is great. And so as much as I was worried about that from the jump, it seems like everything's good. So, but I was panicking big time. No doubt about it.
I think after I saw a video tonight before the game of him practicing with the guys, I think he's going to be a go for Sunday.
Yeah, I saw that, which is great, because if they can get him for the first game of that next round, because you just want them to get through the Hawks as quick as possible, and then from there you want them to rest. Just rest going into Brooklyn, Milwaukee, whoever they get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think? Oh, I just wanted to add. What were your thoughts on? Actually, we can get into it after Cameron says.
Okay, let's stick with the Sixers, and then we can go to the rest of the playoff. I think I know where you're headed. Before the game tonight, who would you? If I would have asked you before the game tonight, who needed to step up? Who would you say, and how impressed were you with that individual?
Well, yeah. So the guy I would have said was Tobias Harris, and I thought Tobias Harris had a good game. He was still active. He was making plays on offense and defense. So I liked what I saw from Harris. But man, I mean, the guy that really was Curry was great tonight. Curry was awesome. Curry really had an excellent game, and to see him, I mean, he was driving to the basket and he was making some moves with the ball. It was like, whoa, I don't remember this version of Curry, but here we go. So I love seeing that. Maxey, how great was Maxey tonight? So there were so many players that came up, but Tobias was the guy that I was hoping for the most, and he did enough tonight. I thought he was good.
Yeah, I thought that fireball impressed me a little bit too. I mean, I knew he had all that in him, but to start, I think I wasn't sure how good he was going to be starting, but I thought he did a pretty nice job.
Well, yeah, I didn't think he was going to start. Well, obviously he had a chance to start, but I wasn't sure if he would. And to see that he did start, it was like, oh, okay, I like this. It was something a little different. Ben Simmons playing center was fun. And then once they got that going, it was a little messy at first, but hey, they figured it out, right? So as long as they get the win, that's really all that matters.
I think that the two players that stood out to me were definitely Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey. They definitely dominated from start to finish tonight.
And how about Maxey, huh? How fun was Maxey tonight, guys? He was
fun to watch. He's so fun to watch.
I was out to dinner with a friend watching the game, and he said that he thinks Max is going to be one of the next big things in the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Oh yeah, because the thing is, I mean, he's just, and I've seen it a lot on Twitter. So this isn't me saying it really, but credit to the people who have said it. he looks like what Markelle Fultz was supposed to be, right? Like it's this guy that can dribble the ball a lot. He's bouncy. He can hit threes. He can go to the basket. It's like, all right, he's got it. Like he's got all the tools there. It's just how much better does he get? And to see him come into a playoff game when we didn't know if he was going to play in the playoffs, and then here he is, and he's crushing it. It was like, all right, yeah, like great for this kid, and great for the crowd to see him and like really get behind him and cheer him. But even in the first playoff game when he got in for a couple of minutes, the crowd went nuts, and it was like, this is awesome, you know.
I can talk about the first playoff game for King because I was there. The crowd went nuts for him, and the crowd went nuts for Thibault. The fact that when Matisse Thibault came into the game, I guess it was mid first half, the fans absolutely erupted.
It must have been awesome. I can't imagine how fun it must have been.
Yeah.
I'm actually moving into college this Sunday, and I'll be able to watch it with my friend, who's unfortunately a Knicks fan, and
we were rubbing it in his face tonight on the phone earlier.
Yeah.
But let's get back to the real stuff. How with Embiid out, what did you think was going to happen with the Sixers tonight? Did you think they were going to end up winning by 20?
I didn't think they were going to be winning by 20. No, I thought they were the better team. And that was the nice thing about tonight, right? Is like you saw so many different players that did play well tonight. Ben Simmons really did, like you said it earlier. Ben Simmons had a really good game. And for him, when they were fouling him early and they were forcing him to hit free throws and he was hitting them, it was like, all right, this is great. So loved seeing that. Again, Curry had a great game. You saw Dwight Howard with a couple of good moments, Maxey, Thibault, like everybody on the team, because they had so many people play. And for so many people to play well, it was one of those reasons why you figured this series was going to be easy. It's just the Sixers have a lot of good professional players, and they're a better team than Washington. So that comes together. And the coolest thing about it is, too, like to get the playoff experience for some of these guys and to get the playoff minutes for some of these guys going into these bigger, more important series, it's great. It just comes together in a really nice way where in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game, Bradley Beal was sitting on the bench, Russell Westbrook was sitting on the bench, and they just knew it was over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought – go ahead, Alex.
Okay. I got a little optimistic with them when they were down. I think one point they were down like 6 points. And
I think they were going into the fourth quarter. They were down like 5 or 6, and then they exploded.
I feel like it was somewhere before halftime. I think they were on like a deficit, and I didn't feel strong about like each possession that they had, and they just blew it open in the second half. And props to Doc Rivers and getting the team back on track. And I'm really excited about this upcoming series against the Hawks.
The Hawks are going to be fun. I mean, they're much better than Washington, but Trae Young's good, man. Like Trae Young is really good, and it's going to be fun to see what he does against the Sixers, and who they put on him. Like, is Ben Simmons just going to live on guarding Trae Young? I'd like to see it. I want to see what that looks like, how much this dive will get used. But yeah, that's going to be a great series. Atlanta's great series against the Knicks, by the way. I mean, that series was really fun with those teams. So for them to get Atlanta, it's going to be one of those things where hopefully Embiid is ready for game 1, but even if he's not, you figure they can still beat Atlanta. They can still win that series.
Yeah. My question is flying out west for a minute. What did you think of the Lakers' performance last night?
I mean, they got crushed, right? They got crushed. They're just like the tough thing is that everybody wants to believe that LeBron can always just like make magical things happen all the time, and a lot of times he does. But hey, he's in his late 30s now. He's got an ankle that's bothering him. Now he's got to do more of the workload because Anthony Davis is hurt. hurt. Contavious Caldwell-Pope is hurt. Like, they're just in a tough spot, and the Suns are a really good team. Chris Paul re-injured his shoulder, but he was looking better, so it was one of those things where it just feels like the Suns are the better roster right now, and they're going to go and win that series. So for the Lakers, I mean, you're always worried about them, and I'm not going to count them out until they're officially gone. But man, I mean, they don't look like they have it this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who do you have winning the game tomorrow between the Lakers and the Suns?
Yeah, I figure it's the Suns. It just feels like it's their series at this point. They have too many players. In the same way with the Sixers, where it's okay, they've got a lot of different guys that are giving you a couple of points. And for the Wizards, it's really two guys. The Lakers are kind of the same way. It's like LeBron James gets you points, Anthony Davis gets you a lot of points, and maybe they get a third guy that steps up on a given night. But the Suns, it's just they have guys all across the board that can give you 12, 14. And when you got a lot of players like that, they're playing good basketball. So it's one of those things where I just don't think the Lakers have enough left.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been really I think they've been really well coached throughout that series, and I think they will put a nail on the Lakers tomorrow and make it their own house. And I do see Devin Booker having an absolute monster game tomorrow, as well as Chris Paul. And I think if they both average at least 18 or 19 points tomorrow night, they would come out with a win.
Yeah, and that's probably what it's going to take. I mean, for the Lakers, they put up, like 92 or something? Like, they didn't put up a whole lot of points the other night. So
I think it was 85.
85. Oh my God. Yeah. So
okay. I'll look again.
Yeah, no, because I wanted to say it was something like 85, but it felt wrong. So I gave them a couple of extra points. So it's not good. It's not good though.
Yeah,
so
it was 115 to 85.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It was not their night last night.
No. So yeah, if you're getting something like that from Chris Paul, whatever he brings to the table, but Devin Booker, Bridges, Ayton has been giving them a lot of points. There's just so many. Again, there's so many people that score for him. So
Cameron
Payne. Cameron Payne, who's done a good job. So it's just they got a lot of talent, and I figure they're going to advance, and then it just comes down to who do you think is going to win the West now that the Lakers are out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that kind of brings me to my next question. Who do you think is going to bring the West, even because the Lakers are on the brink of elimination?
Yeah, well, you know what I got right now, guys? And I really didn't think I would say this at all, but I'm buying into the Clippers right now. I really am. I mean, if what they've done in the last really like game and a half, they just look like they figured it out. Like they were kind of nervous and they had a lot of pressure on them, and now they've adjusted to it and they're rallying. And when you look at how open the West is, and with the Lakers, if they're out of the picture at this point, I'll take Kawhi Leonard and Paul George over any duo that's left in the West. Mm-hmm. So you look at that, they got veteran players all up and down the roster. Ty Lue's been around teams that have won titles as a coach and a player. So they just have a lot of good things to their benefit. And if Kawhi is playing like this, the way that he's been playing in this series, that's the best team in the West right now.
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening. But do you think Utah has a chance, or you think it's Dallas? I mean, Memphis.
So Utah, I think they could very well be in the conference finals. I wouldn't be shocked to see them in the conference finals at all, but I don't see them winning a title. Like, I just have such a hard time seeing them. They just have a weird energy around them.
They're beating Memphis by 30 right now. So
okay.
So they're winning. They're gonna move on tonight.
Yeah.
I just changed the channel. Look for a second, but let's go back to the East for a second. Who do you see winning the Brooklyn Milwaukee series?
Yeah, I wish I had an answer for that. And right now, it's really tough because for the Nets, I mean, you are getting the superstars. They're playing together, and they're doing what you expect. They score 85 points against the team, and they have 102 points total, and 85 of them are from those three guys. Like, they're doing the things that you expect to see. So when you look at the Nets and operating the way they're supposed to, okay, that's incredibly dangerous. It's what happens when a guy like Giannis is going against the Nets, and how do they handle that? And when Drew Holiday looks as good as he does. So the biggest wrinkle in that series right now is the Bucks lost the starter. DiVincenzo is going to be out for the rest of the playoffs. So how do the Bucks work around that is going to be a pretty big question for them. It's a lot of minutes to make up, but right now, I guess I gotta lean with the Nets, as much as like they just haven't had time together. Normally I wouldn't do it, but I think the Nets have just enough that they're going to win that series. It's going to be 6 or 7 games, but they're going to win that series.
I really think that Chris Middleton is going to be a big factor for the Bucks, and Giannis is going to also as well. And I think, as much as I hate the Nets, I have to lean to say Bucks in 7.
Yeah,
okay.
Here's my question, and it's kind of a different question. Who do you think is a better matchup for the Sixers in the Eastern Conference Finals?
Ooh, okay. Well, yeah, I'd rather play the Bucks. I would much rather play the Bucks. Just because, again, for the Nets, it's just too much firepower at the top. And when they've got that many guys that can score, it could just put the Sixers in a weird spot. Being a defensive team against a super great offensive team in a league that leads to offense now, like it's a tougher matchup. So I'd rather play Giannis. I'd rather put the pressure on Chris Middleton to beat the Sixers, put the pressure on, Drew Holiday to beat the Sixers. And I would take them. I would take, assuming Embiid, because obviously all this is with Embiid coming back and being in at least as close to 100% as he can be. So if we're getting that, then yeah, I want the Bucks.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think about, I guess, moving to a different topic? What do you see the Knicks doing in the offseason?
That's a big question. I mean, part of it's going to be how interested are people in joining the Knicks, because the whole big thing is, hey, we're in New York. Everybody wants to play here. And then nobody's wanted to play there because the team's been bad and management's bad.
And
so,
now everybody wants to play in Brooklyn. Not the Knicks.
Yeah, and that's part of it too. So, okay, if Brooklyn comes calling for a team like a veteran player, you're going to go and play for Brooklyn rather than play for the Knicks. But it's going to depend on the Knicks and where they think they are, how close they think they are, and how aggressive they want to be. I don't think people right now, I don't think the team's good enough right now that people are going to sign up for that if all things are equal compared to a lot of other teams, because there's so many teams that are better. There are other big markets. Even places like Miami make a lot of sense because of taxes, believe it or not. So, there's just so many different things that could sway people. So I think for the Knicks, you just try to find more young talent. To find younger guys, like to flip Julius Randle, who should be in his prime, he's like at the beginning of his prime. That's something you can build around. So it's just building more of the core of the team and working from there. They don't need that big superstar yet. So get depth and just, try to make it to the second round next year.
What do you think about the trade deadline around that time? You think they're going to make any big moves
during next season?
Yeah. Do you think that Derrick Rose is going to stay put, or you think he's going to go?
I don't know. I mean, he's probably going to get offered a lot of money. There's going to be a lot of teams that want him at this point, right?
Yeah.
He looked great. He was in the 6th man of the year conversation. So for a guy that was playing that well, now Thibodeau is his guy. They were together all those years before in Chicago. So there's something to be said for that. But if he looks that good, other teams are going to want that guy. So how much is New York an appeal? Does he actually like playing for the Knicks? Maybe. Are they paying more than other teams for him? I don't know. So we'll see how that goes. And then with the trade deadline, it's just going to be how many other moves are made. There's just what does the free agency look like? Do they draft any other guys? Like Quickly this year was a good young player for them. So do they find anybody else like that? and what do they need to trade for. So for that, we'll just, we'll figure it out when we get a little closer.
Another question I wanted to ask you is, if the Sixers make any moves during that time of year, what do you think will happen? And do you see like a superstar like Tyrese Maxey staying put, or getting offered to a different team and getting a more solid shooter or someone?
Well, the Maxey thing is interesting because they almost traded him for Kyle Lowry. He was one of those guys that was in the trade talk. So based on what he does the rest of the playoffs here, it might be that they really don't want to move him, because the nice thing is, guys, like, he's still on a rookie deal for a couple of years now. So you get the benefit of having him on the cheap. So hang on to him. If you don't have to trade him, unless somebody that comes along that is really tremendously great, and you're talking about a big time player to add to Simmons, Embiid, and Tobias, then great. But they don't have to make that move right now. So for them, it's going to be like, okay, what happens with Dwight Howard, and do they need a backup center? And we'll see how that situation goes. Danny Green, I think, is a free agent this year. So what do they do with him? Does he come back? Do they get somebody else to be in the starting five that can shoot some threes? So they got, those are some of the long-term questions for the Sixers.
Where do you see the Sixers? Do you see the Sixers winning the championship this year?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, I totally see it, guys. I'm in. Like they just have so many things going on. Obviously, Embiid, again, I hate to keep bringing it up, but we got to Embiid, and we'll see with his knee. But if he looks again as good as he should, then this team's just got everything going on. The energy's great. Like the way from Maxey to pop in on a Thibault press conference and little stuff like that is like really good energy to have in a team. Ben Simmons showing some aggression tonight was a big thing that they needed, and he did that. So looking at the roster and the way it's built, looking at Doc Rivers and having Sam Cassell on staff, like they just have all the right energy in all the best ways, home court advantage right now. And depending on how everything goes with the West, I mean, they could have home court advantage in the finals here. So there's a lot of things that just line up for the Sixers, and you say, there's plenty of reason to believe that this is a real year for them to win the title. Has to be.
And I think it puts a lot of weight on the fans as they started to bring the full capacity starting tonight. And I think that brought the energy and a little bit more than enough momentum to kick out the Wizards and defeat them. And I think that's what we would, as huge fans, I think that's what we exactly want from them day in and day out. And just looking past this series, I think it's going to be like everyone is going to say like, oh, I don't think they're going to make it all the way. I think this is the start of something big in the bigger long term of the rest of this season. And I see this team has a complete huge chance of making surprises, and no matter what the circumstance is with Embiid, they can still do it without him if they don't have him available. And as a huge fan, as like you two, I gotta say this, but it's just, I think they get the job done and win the title.
There we go. I love to hear it. I love to hear it, man.
I think there's a pretty good chance they win the title too.
Yeah.
Because even if they take it to game 6 or 7, I think they still have the energy and juice to knock it out.
They got enough. It's going to depend on the matchup at that point. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, who knows? Because, like, let's say for some reason the Suns end up making it, but Chris Paul is still banged up. Well, if he's banged up and Embiid's banged up a little bit, could they beat the Suns? Yeah, I think they could beat the Suns, and that's the thing. It's just such a wide open league this year.
Yeah.
So if they make it to the conference finals, I think that's their biggest challenge is getting past the conference finals. And then whoever you get win the finals, it feels like you're playing downhill almost.
Yeah.
Oh, also, who do you think is the second to weakest team in the West?
Oh, well, right now, I mean, the Grizzlies are getting eliminated, so we'll throw that.
Yeah.
With that series with the Mavericks and the Clippers, and that other game is tonight. For right now, Luka's got a bad neck. So I look at that and I go, okay, well, if he's not 100%, that's a team that you could beat, and he's the heart and soul of that team. And then otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting because the Clippers, again, I feel really good about them. The Jazz are pretty healthy. You know who I would take right now? I would take Portland. I would love to have Portland right now because Damian Lillard is crazy good. He's ridiculously good.
That performance last night, oh my God,
unbelievable! Like that was amazing. And when you see him do that, and he puts up 55, and they lose, and there's rumors that the coach could get fired, and there's a lot of stuff around them. So like I could easily see the Sixers beating the Blazers as much as like Damian Lillard would scare everybody and probably win a game by himself. Yeah, I'll take it. I think the Sixers are a better team.
Yeah, it would be fun to have a reunite with Robert Covington at the Wells Fargo Center. That would be awesome.
That would be so great.
Yeah. So moving on to the Phillies. I just wanted your big thoughts on what you've seen from your perspective, and do you see this ball club going to the playoffs or not?
No, I don't. And before the season, I did. You know, I figured, okay, the offense was one of the best in baseball. They made some changes to the bullpen. That alone should be enough. You know, if the bullpen wins 4 more games than they're supposed to from last year, then that's a playoff team. Like, that's a big swing. But they're not good, guys. Like, it's a bad baseball team. What do they do well? Like, they're not a great hitting team. They're starting pitching. Like, Vince Velasquez has been great, but that fell apart in his last time out. So as much as the top 3 are great, you don't have anything after that, really. It's just defensive mistakes. They're a wreck. The team's a wreck.
What were your thoughts while watching that game last night? 17-4.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shock to see that, like, wow, because they had moments where they did that enough last year where they'd put up a 10, 11, 12, 13 runs, but they would lose those games because the bullpen would give up 15. So it was fun to watch them do that, but it's a shame because you're not seeing it enough. You know, I mean, how many games do they go where it's just 1 run here, 2 runs here, 3 runs here, and they can't put up those big games. So, I mean, to do 17 in 1 game is incredible. So that's awesome, but like they got to have more offense day to day, and that's the big problem. They just don't have it.
The one player that I wanted to mention is Alec Baum, and I think he's having a difficult time at the plate. It looks like he hasn't been smacking the ball lately as much as the offense wants to, and I think that's a big perspective on the season and how much difficult the offense as a whole is.
Yeah, I mean, Bohm was such a nice thing last year. I mean, he was great, and he had stretches this year early where it was like, okay, yeah, he's looking good, but he's struggling, and it shows out in the field too. And that's the unfortunate thing is like you have so much faith in a guy like that, or so much belief in a guy like that because they don't have a lot of young guys to believe in. You know, so when you see somebody that's pretty good, you go, I really hope this guy's going to work. I hope he's going to last. I hope he's going to be as great as we thought. And when he goes under that, you start to panic because you just look around and there's just nobody else coming. Like there's just the farm system isn't there. So hopefully he figures it out. I'm certainly not giving up on him at all, like not even close to doing that. There's too much time. But yeah, you want to see more production out of him, and you want to see it out of the whole lineup. Hoskins has been great lately. Segura's been great lately, but you need to hit. They need to hit.
I loved how McCutcheon had 2 home runs last night. That was good to see.
Yeah, all it takes is getting pooped on, right? Yeah, the birds came by and pooped on him, and he was like, "Yep, there we go. That's all I needed." 2 home runs.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on this upcoming series against, I think it's the Nationals?
Yeah, so the main thing is it's tough because the division has not been great this year. The division for them, it has underperformed all across the board. So games like this these are the games that they really, if they want any shot of making the playoffs, they got to win the division games. And as they've been on this backslide here, and now they're a couple of games under 500, it's just like they got to win. It's just, the problems they have against the Marlins, like they got to win because they're not going to get easy wins anywhere else. The Mets aren't an easy win. The Braves aren't an easy win. The Nationals have to be the place where you do it. So if they can't do it against the Nationals, then, this is one of those things where their season's it's shot. They're not getting the help anywhere else.
So I got two more questions.
Okay.
So what is your expectation on the rest of the season for them? And what is your prediction for their record to finish off the season?
Oof. Oh, man, the record's going to be a tough one. For the rest of the way, I'm just curious what they do at the trade deadline at this point. I just want to see what they move for. Is it just a player or two? Like, is it a small bench player like they did the past couple of years, just a guy to come off the bench and hit the ball a little bit? Are they trying to make a big swing? Are they giving up players? Like, are they giving away players and selling because this team just isn't – it's just not working? Like, I think we'll learn a little bit about how the front office feels about this team long term from the deadline. So I'm excited for that more than anything, just because, again, I think the team's a bit of a wreck. So that's what I'm looking forward to now more than anything. It's that and just seeing young people and what comes together with Bohm if he figures it out. Spencer Howard getting more opportunities and what that looks like as a starting pitcher. So that's where my mindset is at this point. And given that, I think we're talking about a team that, they're going to be a couple of games under 500, guys. I hate to say it, but for the track that they're on right now, they look like a team that could be, 8 games under 500, 10 games under 500, just because they can't win some of these easy ones. And they're not good at anything right now. You can't say that they've got something to hang their hat on. So it's tough sailing.
Yeah, I think they definitely can't get ahead of Atlanta or the Mets, it looks like, because they've been on fire lately, and the Phillies don't have what it takes to keep it what they want it to be, and unfortunately it's the way it is right now with the whole organization. And I just want them to play to go out every game and dominate and compete, and that's all I ask for.
Yeah, it'd be nice, but
yeah,
in a lot of nights it's just really ugly baseball. Even if they're close, it just feels like they're 5 runs behind because they're not doing the basic things, So it's tough.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your time, Quinn.
Yeah.
Thanks for
guys.
coming on.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, this was fun. I'm glad we could get some time, talk a little Sixers basketball, celebrate a playoff series win, So it's been great.
We should definitely do it again.
Yeah, feel free to hit me up sometime. Once the Sixers win the title, hit me up. All right.
Yeah. We will.
There we go. All right, guys. Well, thanks for having me on.
Yep, no problem.